Good morning. I'm Tim O'Malley, CEO of Atima Media and Marketing. Welcome to the 20th Annual Hospitality and Tourism Summit, and specifically a great panel discussion entitled 8+ Ways to Elevate Your Guests' Experience. We're filming at the AV Chicago studio at Chop Shop in Wicker Park here in Chicago. We are so grateful for this opportunity to film our hybrid educational sessions in such a state-of-the-art facility that's run by this amazing production team. I'd like to thank AV Chicago for being our hybrid production sponsor for this year's event. Also, special shout out to Andrew, Justin, and Amanda and their team for pulling this off in such a great fashion. On the topic of shout outs, we're so fortunate to have some fantastic partners that have helped us to produce this event. I'd like to thank our premier sponsors, Navy Pier, Skydeck Chicago, Fashion Outlets of Chicago, the Shops at Northbridge, and Old Post Office. And I'd like to thank our supporting sponsors, Live Art International, Safe Expo, and Salvi Media. And finally, I'd also like to show some gratitude to our participating sponsors, Choose Chicago, National Concierge Association, Chicago Hotel Concierge Association, Spectra, Levy, Show Services, NHS, Balloons by Tommy, FedEx, Accurate Printing, Quest Events, and Expo. It does take a village. While I have your attention, I wanted to highlight the 20th Annual Hospitality and Tourism Trade Show that's happening on June 8th at Navy Pier. We're so excited to get our industry back together, and we're going to do it safely. Wow, I also can't believe it's been 20 years that we've been doing this. It's so important that we take this step together as an industry to show people that it's safe to get together again. It's time. Together, we can lead our industry back towards normalcy. We're fortunate that we have some great partnerships over the years. As part of our 20th anniversary celebration for the Hospitality and Tourism Summit, we wanted to bring forward some of the stories of businesses that have participated in the summit over the years. Here's a story from a true Chicago icon and one of the tastiest treats you can find anywhere, Garrett Popcorn.
Garrett Popcorn is synonymous with Chicago. We were started by a female founder in 1949. We started by selling cheese corn, caramel crisp. We even sold some nuts by weight without giving away any family secrets. The recipes are from the family that started Garrett Popcorn. They had been cooking them in their kitchens and tasting them before opening the first shop in Chicago. Garrett Mix was started by our fans. Fans were ordering a bag of cheese corn, a bag of caramel crisp, and then asking for an empty bag. We found out that they were mixing their own Chicago-style popcorn, and in 1977, Garrett Mix was added to the menu. People often ask me why Garrett Popcorn shops started in Chicago. Why wouldn't you? It's an amazing city. We have such great Midwest hospitality, and I think we have food that's second to none. Garrett Popcorn just fits right into that. There have been a few silver linings to come out of the past year. First and foremost, I think we've learned how to support one another better. Our teams and our fans are really central to the brand, and I think the past year gave us a chance to really reach out and support each other. We now have a way for you to skip the line by ordering on our website and then picking it up at our shop. We installed pickup windows where you never even have to go inside. Garrett Popcorn is one of those places that every tourist needs to go to when they visit the city, and we want to do our tourists proud and do our city proud. Private events are a truly special piece of our business. For the host, we want to make sure that we're always delivering top-notch white glove experience for them, having a really special touch that lets your guests know that you're so thankful that they're there. Garrett Popcorn is a great way to do that. Garrett Popcorn has participated in the Summit trade shows in the past, and we're really excited to be here for this one. During the pandemic, we found such amazing partnership and collaboration across businesses in Chicago. We were calling each other, sharing notes, and just helping each other out. So to see everyone together again, it will be really exciting to be in person, reconnect, and reopen the city for all of us. A lot has changed in the industry and in the world since we last came together. So coming together face-to-face, learning, sharing best practice, and just being inspired by one another really is the best way to spend a day.
Okay, so who's not hungry for a little popcorn right now? And it's going to be a fantastic day at the summit. We'll have over 75 exhibitors and 800 people, including the who's who of influencers in our industry. You'll see meeting and event planners, hotel concierge, guest services and salespeople, DMCs, social media influencers, industry leaders, and more. Not to mention some of Chicago's top tourism, group, and private event-oriented organizations. You'll also be able to sample some tasty food and drinks. In addition to the virtual educational sessions, there are 4 other new items I'd like to share. First, the event will be held in the Aon Grand Ballroom at Navy Pier and in 4 adjacent spaces for a total potential capacity of over 13,000. Since we're expecting 800 attendees, there will be plenty of space for social distance. Second, there'll be strict COVID-19 safety measures. Navy Pier has recently received the GBAC Star accreditation from the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, and we've partnered with Safe Expo to create and execute our overall safety plan. Rest assured, we'll all be masked up, there'll be temperature checks, and everything else we need to do to make sure you're safe. Third, we'll be offering tours of Navy Pier. If you haven't seen their new offerings for events and visitors, you don't want to miss this. And finally, we'll be producing an entertainment showcase this year, brought to you by Live Art International. If you're looking to find entertainers to book, or if you can't wait to see live entertainment again, you need to come to this. You'll see one of Chicago's hottest bands, amazing magical performances, and a variety of Chicago's greatest talents, from blues to pop to classical. I personally cannot wait for this. It's just so important that we take this step together as an industry to show people that it's safe to get together again. It's time. That being said, I'm hoping you can help us. Due to the furloughs and massive change in our industry, it's not as easy as it once was to contact folks that should be with us at that trade show on June 8th. So can you please make a point to pass the word to one person who should be there? This is the perfect opportunity to show people that Chicago is ready to host visitors and events again, and it would be great to show the strength of our industry. You can get more information on our website at hts.events or on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you. Okay, let's get on with the reason we're here. We've got a phenomenal panel for you entitled 8+ Ways to Elevate Your Guest's Experience. I have the honor of introducing our moderator, Stephanie Leese Emrich. Stephanie is founder and chief executive officer of ServiceSpeaks Solutions, and she's a longtime friend. Stephanie's customer journey began at her grandfather's boutique hotel and led her through some of the top hotels and service organizations, including the legendary Drake Hotel, Les Clefs International, and she served as president of the National Concierge Association in Chicago. Using her Be My Guest mantra, she teaches service culture excellence plus personalized service experience techniques to a wide variety of industries and groups. Stephanie is one of the nation's few accredited instructors for the Certified Guest Service Professional designation. Stephanie has been a college professor for 20 years. She has authored and delivered proprietary training courses for businesses all over the world. She founded the National Customer Service Association, Chicagoland, and is a frequent presenter at NCSA national conferences. Please look for Stephanie's new book entitled Service Still Speaks, A Constant in a Changing World. Please welcome Stephanie Leese Emrich. Stephanie?
What a great joy, Tim O'Malley and your team, Atima, bringing to the world and meeting planners, concierge, vendors, retailers, and what you have created and developed inside of just a very swift decade. And I recall the first year, and here we are. Your attention to detail and attraction to a wide variety of people who have amplified the ability to come to Chicago and use the resources that are here and leave, and guess what? Tell the rest of the world about world-class Chicago. It's really a pleasure to be here and this esteemed panel. We're friends, but let's take a peek at their achievements and their innovations and how they lead from their heart first and their head, the Chicago way. Randy Stancik is the general manager and vice president of Skydeck Chicago. In a challenging moment that we're currently in, but throughout 2019, visitors and guests surveyed on TripAdvisor ranked Skydeck Chicago in the number 10 of every attraction in the world, through renovations, through elevations and everything. That testimony speaks of Randy Stancik leadership. Randy and I go back 24 years on Michigan Avenue, and I have completely been in awe, genuinely, of his basketball skills, but also his ability to connect the dots, no matter what one's rank and file is in their organization. From concierge to general manager, Randy speaks the language of service, no matter who the audience is. He has perfected Chicago relationships. And Randy, I'm just glad to be sitting here with you. Next time we'll go up to the Skydeck and have a chat.
It's a pleasure, Stephanie. Thank you.
Philippe Gills, chef concierge, head concierge. Some people think chef concierge is in the kitchen. Well, Philippe might be in the kitchen, but he's ever present. On a recent visit to the Langham Hotel, Chicago, at beautiful Wabash, right on the banks of the Chicago River, I was reminded of Philippe's humble beginnings as concierge, but prior to that, if I can go back a few decades, watching Philippe give the testimony of Chicago service and rising to the rank of Les Clefs, the gold-keyed concierge, the prestigious organization of 68 years now. Not Philippe, the organization. Philippe is that wonderkind standing in the Langham Hotel lobby where he just sort of pops up and provides this service without any note-taking or letting us see him sweat. He just does it. And that seamless kind of service doesn't happen overnight. It takes Philippe Gills, who takes the time and the energy and the notes to go on an exploration as a bon vivant of Chicago. I see Philippe on social media, just where is he now? And I would pretty much do anything you told me to do, Philippe. And guess what? If it's legal and moral, we know that's the Les Clefs credo. Oh, and kind, which is ultimately you.
Thank you.
Rose Horcher, Vice President of Client Services, Choose Chicago. We know that in a somewhat challenging year of bringing the world to Chicago, it takes a real refined leader, someone who understands communication, bringing the guest experience, and in the heat of it all, people making decisions about coming to our great city in the first place. By the time we see and experience Rose's work has been done. We don't always get to see that. We do get to see the effervescence in Sweet 16 this summer. Rose will celebrate that many years as a Choose Chicago leader, manager of people, and client services, the customer attraction. Why do people come to Chicago? And better yet, why do they return? Rose, a little birdie told me you have a video to share with us today in the newest project. Ready? Connecting to Chicago. Connecting to Chicago. While we get the video queued up, Rose, would you tell us a little bit about this new program?
I'd love to. Thank you, Stephanie, for those kind words. And it is an honor to represent Chicago and to show the best of Chicago to our convention and meetings clients. Yes, it has been a very difficult year, 13 months now, 14 months, but we do see a light at the end of the tunnel. And when our clients come back, we will be helping them more than ever with this new initiative called Connecting to Chicago. The whole purpose of this initiative is to make sure that we are reaching out to organizations, both governmental, civic, corporate, throughout Chicagoland, telling them that these events are coming to Chicago and asking them how they can benefit from attending or exhibiting or becoming a speaker or working with a community service project with that particular organization. There's multitude of ways that they can work with these clients. And we've got such rich intellectual capital in Chicago that we really will shine with this new initiative. So with that being said, we present to you our new video.
Welcome to Chicago, the city that works, home to a rich history of innovation and growth, and vibrant, diverse communities. We've been the central hub of transportation and shipping since 1882. And nearly 100 years ago, Chicago created the first dedicated organization for meetings and events. Today, we continue to be a major destination for events and tourists alike. Our city is a center of innovation in medicine, tech, manufacturing, and food, beverage, and culinary arts. With over 270,000 businesses, more than 35 Fortune 500 companies, and the resources you need to make your meeting succeed, plus the talent and built-in audiences to attend. But who are we? We're Choose Chicago. And through our Connecting to Chicago initiative, we can help make your event thrive. We connect organizations, large and small, to our vast network of major medical, manufacturing, tech, and food, beverage, and culinary institutions, as well as the greater Chicago community. We facilitate custom experiences, collaborations, and community partnerships that enhance your meeting, your event, your convention. We help by boosting attendance, creating visibility, finding the perfect partners, and connecting you to the right institutions and talent to wow your attendees. We are the city that works. How can we work for you?
Thank you, Rose, for sharing that exciting video with us. I am truly delighted to see the conventions, meetings, events, and tourists come back to our world-class city. Connecting to Chicago is going to be a great initiative to inspire interest and boost and help meeting and event planners plan their programs here once again. Shifting to our panel discussion, I thought I'd get things started with this question. Deep breath. How have you adapted your customer service and customer excellence practices to accommodate in the COVID world? I'll start with Randy.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephanie. At Skydeck Chicago, we really took a step back, and we were doing this even before COVID to think about what we could do to elevate the customer experience. And we realized that the old school way of getting people to show up, get in line, and wait, and first come, first served type mentality was outdated. So we shifted to the modern time ticket system. So on a half hour, we're allowed to bring in whatever the city level allows us to bring in at the time. Somebody who shows up for a 9:30 admission is never going to see the person that shows up for the 11 o'clock. We built a brand new experience called Catalog at the base of Willis Tower. We have plenty of places to eat, hang out, relax, grab a drink. If people were early or if they didn't have tickets and they walk up, we've built basically a terrific area to just enjoy Chicago and really add to the destination of Willis Tower. So that's one of the first things we did. We obviously went through and looked at the staffing and the protocols in place and making sure that our staff up front are taken care of, what our guests see, what they feel. Again, mask requirements, plenty of hand sanitizers, increased cleaning, a lot of things they won't see, but being very visible with the cleaning too has been an important part for us. So at the end of the day, we're getting high marks. Guests are feeling great, knock on wood, that we don't have too many issues with COVID so far, and we hope that trend continues.
That's a mountain, and knowing your seamless capability, and we'll talk about that further in, but as a true leader, I'm sure you've thoroughly thought through every detail.
We have,
Essential.
and we're ready as we get more capacity, how we ramp up, we scale up, what levels we need to get to, and we can't wait to get there.
And we can't wait to visit.
Yeah.
I've been hearing great things.
Thank you.
Philippe, in the world of the Langham Hotel, running a 5-star hotel in the gorgeous lobby, we know it's beyond the amazing glass bubbles and pebbles and all the artifacts of the aesthetics. What is it like to be currently on the front line in the pandemic moment?
Well, it's no doubt it's an adjustment for us. With the Langham, because we're a mid-sized property, we're not a box property, we're able to maintain a certain level of personalization despite having these new protocols in place. To sort of piggyback what you mentioned, lots of hand sanitizer, the temperature checks as soon as a guest walks into the building. With us, because our lobby's on the second floor, we're able to sort of break those processes into pieces so the guest doesn't feel completely overwhelmed. So when they first walk into the ground floor lobby, they're greeted by our door staff who lets them know about regulations. They take a temperature check, and then up to the second floor lobby. So the guest doesn't feel like they're being overwhelmed. When they're on the second floor lobby, we already know they're coming because everyone has earpieces. It's worker's secret, if you will. So we're able to greet the guests as soon as they come off the elevator on the second floor and begin the seamless process of check-in. From a concierge standpoint, operationally, when we first opened the property, we shared space with the check-in team. Now it seems to be more sensible that we split the desk. So you
The
may
best
have
view in town.
That's right. So instead of being at the front entrance, we're now in a corner or over to the side. I like it because A, it allows for a little more personalization with the guests, but it also puts the guests in a position of being away from others who may have business checking in, checking out, addressing other issues within the property. So you're sort of moving them over now.
Perfect. And Rose, as the world is pivoting and doing everything, I look at you and Choose Chicago as swiveling. Like we're all pivoting, but yours it's got to be like a full 360, and the opportunity to address pandemic, but the learning lessons. I would think that you're teaching the world as we're going along, and as a leader, as a destination, but also a city. Is there any type of moment that you've thought, this is a learning lesson, this is why this has happened in the beginning? And what did the pandemic teach you on an everyday basis for even a site inspection?
Very good question. It has taught me so much. It has increased my pride in this city and the knowledge that this is a city that can get things done. To see McCormick Place flipped to an alternative care facility so quickly, so efficiently, and it was so well done. Luckily, we didn't need it as much as we thought we might need it, but aren't we all grateful that we know it can be used for that purpose if we ever, God forbid, need it again?
Sure.
I take great pride in the staff of McCormick Place and the MPEA staff that truly made that happen. We have created an interactive video that we won't be showing today, but it's called Healthy Meetings Journey. In conjunction with the Department of Aviation, we created this interactive video so it shows you what to expect when you land at one of Chicago's airports, what to expect when you get into a cab or a ride share or take public transportation, what to expect when you enter one of our world-class hotels like the beautiful Langham, what to expect when you get to McCormick Place if you're going there for a conference or convention, talking about the incredible airflow in the building. It's in such detail that I learned a tremendous amount just participating in that initiative. Sure. We've also learned that our clients are so dedicated to Chicago and they are chomping at the bit to get back.
And so are we all. Right?
Yes, we are.
We are
The
more
sooner
than
the better.
ready. The postscript to anything is ready when you are,
Right.
right? So let's scroll ahead 2 to 5 years from now. What are these practices going to be able to share with us? If we could crystal ball that for a minute, and I'll just leave that a little bit open to whomever wants to respond first. So the question is, how did these practices that each of you has instituted for the larger gain, what do we think 2 years, 5 years as a society might become? And even the technology that has come with it. Please, jump in.
So I'll jump in. I think guests are becoming reliant on technology in a really great way. They're getting their tickets in advance in my particular situation. I think they're scheduling their trips further in advance. I think there's less impulse, and hopefully we can get some of that back as comfort level continues. But I think it's going to be a little bit more of a scripted vacation. I think people are going to be booking certain times, the expectations, they're going to kind of know what they have because so many people are doing not just what the restaurants and hotels have done for so long, the reservations required, and the accommodations are usually the first thing to book, and then it's usually the last things from the museum attraction world are the last ones that seem to fill in the gaps. We're seeing that flip a little bit, where we're getting reservations right after people are lining up housing. And sometimes they don't even have transportation yet, because it's either a drive market we're dealing with now more than the in-flight market that we had before. So I really think that's going to be huge. It's a welcome change for us, because we know who's coming in advance. We have an idea of kind of the volume for the day. And I think it's just a smarter way as an operator for us to get in front of it. As far as the COVID and opening up, we'll be able to scale up to that as it continues to grow by using this type of method versus the former method of let's see who shows up today, which was great, but it wasn't modern.
Sure.
And in our world, that's really a big deal.
It shouldn't be a surprise about who's coming into our world, that we can actually customize the experience. In the hotel world, Philippe, you likely have a system, the wizardess that ways I know you have an extraordinary memory, but there are tips about someone's last visit or their first visit. One of the moments of challenge for me in hotels was always, how was your stay? Well, you've had lots of time to get to know me, and now we really are more deeply diving. Or that one guest I remember who called me, how do I get to Chicago? Well, where are you? I'm in Cincinnati, and 5 hours later, we're still on the phone, and I'm talking to him about his visit. And I'm driving with him as if I'm in the car. And he arrived, and 5 hours later, we're still on the phone. Of course, I was hosting other guests at the time. So beyond the technology, Philippe, what is the 2 to 5 forecast for you? 2 to 5 years, like what are we going to see from the concierge world that we leaned on now and will be helpful down the line?
I think we'll probably see expanded versions of what's happening now. Like I think about the way that I work with departments in our property at this time. First off, because of COVID, staffs are more condensed, and so departments are aligned a little bit closer together than ever before, where there used to be 4 people within a department, now there are 2, and those people are cross-pollinating with each other. So we're doing a little bit of each other's work outside of our own department. The strong point in this, for my property, is every day I come in and I talk and deal with reservations, sales, all these departments about who's coming. We're trying to target guests that haven't arrived yet. Is there anything that we can find or spot in that reservation that will indicate service is needed? And we farm it out. That's one tier of what we're doing. The other thing that I monitor every day that I come into work are third-party bookings, meaning American Express Travel, Booking.com, all these platforms that are out there. When the guest makes a reservation through those platforms, they'll get a confirmation. Well, the property that they booked with also receives the confirmation. I have access to all those. Excellent. So I've sort of constructed a basic 3 to 4 paragraph welcome letter, if you will, of who I am. I introduce myself.
Perfect.
The dates that they're coming. It's short and to the point, and I send it to them. I'll probably send 8 to 15 of these every day. On peak times, I've sent 8 to 15 within an hour.
So this is able to transfer into the future. Excellent.
You're transferring into the future, and you're also stripping away to who the actual person is. So now they're not a Booking.com number.
Sure.
They're going to write you back. 98% of these guests will respond. One mentioned she thought that the letter she received from me was an automated letter, and she was really happy to find out that, no, I looked at your reservation and I'm reaching out to you. That is going to pay dividends because you're already creating a real life expectation for the guests before they come to the property. I think that's going to continue to happen.
Sure. Philippe, you've absolutely clinched it. It occurs to me, Randy, I did a drive-by. As homework for all of you. Of course, with Rose, that's fairly easy. Walk into my door
She just drives in circles.
Right.
Yeah.
And what a phenomenal To do it all over again, I think we four would choose Chicago quite readily. To Randy, what are the benefits of seeing that some of these changes? I hear you reflecting on the technology and the team orientation, and you really are in kind of a control opportunity, not over-designing or orchestrating the guest experience. But now you have this spectacular, not just renovation, it's complete overhaul. You're very humble. Can you bring us around and tell us a little bit about that and how some of these recent changes are benefiting the future guest?
Yeah, thank you for all that. We took a very modern approach to the design. We had about 4 years of development on this project. We have 20 plus years, even probably 100 combined of feedback from guests, what they liked, what they didn't like. We designed our experience to be a full-fledged Chicago museum before people get to the top. It's heavy Chicago museum, part selfie museum, it's part architectural river tour, we have part children's museum, and again, there's something for everybody in this approach. We got rid of the stanchions. So any kind of queuing or any kind of herd effect, it's only where we need to, maybe in front of our security or our elevators or by the ledge, but we're really focused on creating a really cool experience. Every exhibit we designed was designed with not just to be taken a picture of, but with people in front of, on the side of, behind, framed for them. Every little detail we tried to really just look at the takeaway. Some folks will want to read every word, the storytelling we went through. Other folks won't want to read anything, but just want to take a picture on our 9-foot hot dog that we have built out in front of, with just an exhibit that we have. And it's interesting because you watch the different folks come through. It's not like we're scripting the experience for them, and we have every demographic coming through our place. It's hard to predict who's going to gravitate to what, and it's actually a pretty good lab experiment when you watch somebody who you would think would not gravitate to the selfie opportunities. But with all this, the idea is really to create a memory, because at the end of the day, that's our product. We're all in tourism, but as we're saying here is that there have to be great takeaways that people, it could be something that they buy from one of the retailers here. It could be wonderful, and that's their memory of Chicago. But odds are it's going to be something that we collectively have set up for them. And probably whether they realize it or not, it doesn't matter because it's their memory, and it's going to be different every time.
Perfectly said. It's their memory.
Yeah.
That's it. That is the customer experience. And the difference of customer service, let's just break it down for a minute. Customer service is lovely. It's reactive. There's a reason why Target puts the customer service desk in the back, right? Because we're tripping down the aisle to get to what we need and we want answers. So it's more of a subset of reaction and more tactical opportunities. But the customer experience is all what visitorship and tourism is. We have so much intel about the guests that we're about to receive. We know who's coming, and we know a lot about them, whether it's mirror imaging or identity, the facts of travel, etc. So the difference, again, in opportunities to create not just a transaction, but the experiential part. I'm very encouraged by each of your moments of truth here. And the atmospheric wave wall, I just got to tell you, I think I took 100 pictures out there last weekend. Bright sunny day out on Jackson. If you haven't seen it, both of you are art lovers. I can't get enough of those. 1963 pieces of steel from this amazemo artist, Oliver. I've followed his career, and leave it to you, Randy, to land him in Chicago. Can you tell us about what your expectation is of bringing a world-class art piece and how that relates to the visitor experience?
Absolutely. It's one of the first things you see, and you don't necessarily have to visit the property either. You could be just driving down, you could be on a bus, car, work in the area, but it's really just the entryway to the Willis Tower, and it's a gift to the city and public art. We didn't have a lot, the area we had to work with was on the side, so it really gave us the challenge and the opportunity to do something with Oliver to really make a great first impression before you even step foot in the property. It's a great, you can see the number of images and photo opportunities being taken. It's right by our bus drop-off for the school groups when we get back into that business, so they're going to walk in front of it and be in awe. It just sets the stage for the experience to come.
Well, I think that'll be our next field trip, the four of us. And we'll bring Tim. We'll bring Tim just along for the ride as well.
Sounds good.
No, it's magnetic, and that so much speaks of the world-class nature of Chicago. So thank you for hoisting that. Philippe, I've seen some hotels move toward a more digital approach. The concierge service, everything is digitized as we're discussing, and while that's very, very positive, there's still, as we know, the human element. It's still experiential, and it's flesh. It's someone actually coming to us. How have you and your team, and I know that your team of concierges on a minimalist but maximum effort, but the teams, the hotel manager, everybody is involved now in the guest experience. How have you adapted that approach to provide even higher, it's harder to go higher than 5-star service in the US, but how have you adapted that and getting the team? We know your effects as a concierge, but how do you inspire the others that you're working with to bring that forward?
Sharing information. That's the single greatest asset that we have right now, because we have less familiarity across departments. That's like asking me to become a pastry chef. I can do the basics, but the familiarity is not there. But with a helping hand, you can sort of cohab together and help create something for a guest. We probably share more lists now than we ever did between departments. Okay. And that, from the concierge standpoint, will start with me going into the field to see what's changed, because so much actually has. Digitally, I think companies and vendors are doing their best to keep those websites up to date in terms of when they're open. Are they temporarily closed? Do you have a set opening date? But understanding that travelers don't necessarily deal directly with vendor platforms. Maybe they're going through a third-party tourist site that's not indigenous to the city. Is it updated to up to the moment? That's where it can get a little bit tricky. So it's just being aware, with boots on the ground, so to speak, dealing direct with the vendors, also doing walking tours to see who's open. A lot of correspondence that way. And so when the guest does come, it becomes a matter of matching their expectation with what's real.
Real time.
Real time.
I mean, this is the moment, and our guests are sort of omniscient. They're sort of all-knowing now. It used to be, the kitchen was in the back. Now it's we're in the experience, and they want to know more. They want to know, how the watch is made, and thank you for that. How have the guests found that with some closures and with maps that are printed and whatnot, that's all helpful, but how are you helping them navigate, Philippe? And then I'll ask Rose as well, the same question is, with all the uncertainties, how do you keep a little bit ahead of it? I know how energetic you are, but it's still amazing that with those dance shoes on, that you're just able to, waltz ahead. How do you do that?
Flexibility. Just trying to stay as malleable as possible. And really listening, which is more than being quiet. Listening is more than being quiet. It's really honing in on what the guest is looking for. And right away, you're throwing mental darts into your personal Rolodex on, okay, that's going to happen. Chance that's going to happen. They don't know this place isn't working right now. And so you're sort of dancing around all those sensibilities. But ultimately, it's... And forgive me for losing sight of the question because I'm talking so much.
No, you've got great intel. I'm hanging on to every syllable, as always, Philippe. The opportunity to get the whole team to help navigate the changes, the uncertainties. I think you've accomplished that. I'll pivot that question to Rose. Is just, we know how brilliant you are in attracting people here. And what if they get here and things change? How are you able to keep ahead and then also inspire the team that you lead with Choose Chicago? How are you able to gravitate to those and honor those uncertainties, but yet move on?
So I believe we are all working with fewer people on our staff. My team directly was impacted. We went from a team of 10 down to 2, including myself. So I've been doing some things I haven't done services-wise for quite a few years because I've had a team, a phenomenal team that I miss greatly to do that work. And I'm realizing that we've got some efficiencies we can work on.
Sure.
By doing some of those things myself for the first time in a while. I'm truly hoping to bring some of those people back. But what we have to remember is that everybody else is doing more with less funding, with fewer staff members. And it's not just us and our members and all of Chicago, but it's our clients as well.
Sure.
And the stressors that they have, they could have gone for a whole year without having one face-to-face, very lucrative event. Some of those trade shows are 70 to 90% of their annual revenue.
Sure.
So imagine if they didn't have that, they had to swivel and create hybrid events. And some were hugely successful, some were not. What we've been told from the clients is that hybrid events are here to stay, that they will always be a part, hopefully a smaller part, but a part of their events moving forward because they've been able to reach a vastly larger audience. They can reach parts of the world that they never would have touched by just having a face-to-face event.
And even a different audience, correct? A segment of a population that they didn't know that it was even going to be in their opportunity set.
Right. So I think I would just add that we all need to be, I know being kind is part of the mantra of a concierge and a services person, but be kinder. Just have more patience, which is hard when you yourself are going through stress, but have more patience and be kinder.
Sure. There's almost a grace note. I feel like people are more accepting in some ways. It's that whomever said we are in this together, that guy and the person who said three-peat, those are the winning moments in customer experience, that it's not about, oh gosh, I'm encouraged, Rose, that I can only envision you very adeptly moving into some basic skill sets that you at one time mastered but haven't revisited in a while. And I think, Philippe, there's a pastry chef moment for you into the future. The guest experience is not always visible when we're doing contract negotiations, pricing, and when it all comes down to it, unions and the nuts and bolts. But I'm going to ask broadly for each of you to think about, when did the customer service, and here's a little bit of storytelling, and please, to our audience, don't forget to write in a chat mechanism that this is the time to think about your story and also ask questions. Give us a moment where it didn't matter, although it always does, the bottom line is the bottom line, but it really was the heart and soul of the customer experience that you and your teams developed. And I'll go right back to Rose, because I know she's got several opportunities, where it was the heart of Chicago and that the customer service smooth and that experience won the contract.
We have had more than one occasion when one of our client services representatives was written into the contract, where that client said they would come to Chicago if that person would be there to service that agreement, because they'd worked with them in the past and had such an amazing experience. I don't think there's any better telltale sign of a good customer service experience and the importance of that experience in reselling whatever you're reselling, the Skydeck experience or the Langham or just coming to Chicago.
Sure. Is it like going to New York City and saying, gee, I wonder where the Philippe Gills is here,
Exactly.
I mean, it's brand identity, and reading TripAdvisor and other social media platforms that really people are glued, and we're all the wiser to understand the language. I think our guests constantly give us the language of service, how we're able to serve them. They're giving us cues and clues, and intuitively we get that. It's just taking a moment and reminding ourselves why that's important. Randy, what's your go-to story on service?
We take a look at service and we think we're hiring the nicest people we can find. I mean, we start with that. If somebody has 10 plus, 20 plus years, that's valued. But it's really about finding the nice folks, the hostess to the city. We only have people for an hour or two. they're going to, as I said earlier, we're in the memory business, so we need them to nail it. We need people to do it and there's so much we can do before they even get here, to Philippe's point about doing the homework, which I think is awesome, by the way, terrific stuff. We're trying to take a look at special requests coming in, but also create things with the welcome wall. We created a Wrigley Field marquee that gives the opportunity to put, it might be welcome XYZ show, bigger things, less frequent, but then we have a scrolling welcome message, birthday buttons that we do. Within the last 12 hours, we've had requests come in for somebody whose birthday it is, wanting to know if they can bring balloons and cupcakes to the ledge. We're like, absolutely. Somebody wanted to bring their dogs. Well, we don't allow animals in the building, but we figured out how to accommodate that quietly. And then you think about there was somebody who's afraid of heights. There was one gentleman who was looking to find a hot dog that to be at a golf course somewhere because we just put in this huge hot dog. Everything gets addressed, but I guess the beautiful thing is that we never know what's going to come in ahead of time. But more importantly is to take the cues from the guests. You talked about the mental darts going back earlier. What can we do to see it? And there might be a family of 3 or 4 there, but one person's taking the picture. And again, we've gotten away from doing this with COVID, but we're chomping at the bit to go back and take that camera, get that picture together. The things that, just the small things like that, people taking cues about, like overhearing a conversation about where they want to go to eat, or just any way they could possibly interject without stepping on the experience is really what we've been preaching at our place. We subscribe to the House of Yes. If I haven't talked about that yet, it's really more about House of Yes. We start with the yes. We get there. We focus on that. We can't. We say it as much as we possibly can, and we start with that instead of starting with a no and getting to the yes. And I think just having that mentality really works for us. And really, at the end of the day, what can we do to help make the memory? And it could be the small things. Usually that's the feedback we get. It's just the smallest thing of so-and-so was really nice for us. And, I got to tell you is that, we had somebody who had a question about autism, and somebody with the party, they took us and they moved us to a different thing. Definitely. We had somebody who was, I'm probably going long here, but there was we had a Ferris Bueller display a couple of years back, but this is one of the great examples. 2 people showed up with a Ferris vest and the Red Wings jersey. So one of our team members, told them to wait there. They ran back. They got the model of Ferris in camera, and they put them next to it, and they got the photo opportunity. And you think those are the things that we empower them to do. We recognize them for the job well done, and it all starts with friendly people.
So it's something you already have. It's not anything you had to go out and rent or buy. And what I'm hearing you say too, Randy, is that the ripple effect, when one person's having a good time, they're going to tell. It's that advocacy that we can't buy any kind of skywriting across whichever field I know we are on opposing teams, but we are rooting for Chicago all the way. The opportunity for that, again, that grace note, it's stuff we already have. How do we up and out it? It's getting leadership and executive teams to recognize that those things matter. Once we as employees understand that that's really cool, that that's a really good thing to be doing, and that it's not just the pressure point to getting the contract signed, that it is that. Rose, I happen to know among your many credentials of certified meeting planner and certified exhibition manager that you recently embarked upon a certified guest service professional. And there are some trademarks in the customer experience that are empathy, authenticity, and an initiative. Which one would you say in your role, so authenticity, empathy, and initiative, which one sets the spark? When you're thinking about the day and the night and the weekends, it's not 24/7, it's more like 25/8, I believe, with your agenda.
The bags under my eyes.
Hardly. What do you lean on the most when you're providing customer experience?
It's a combination of all three, and I think I can give an example of that, and talking about how it won business as well. We have a large annual oncology convention that comes to Chicago every year, and we were trying to sign a deal for several years down the road with them. And they love Chicago, and they're committed to Chicago, but we had to prove to them we were not taking their business for granted. And so we came up with a wonderful proposal, and we reached out to our partners for assistance. And you have to forge those partnerships just like we have with you and with Philippe and with Randy, with sports teams with everybody in Chicago. And knowing that this particular client is a huge Cubs fan, I reached out to our contacts there, knowing that John Lester and Anthony Rizzo are both cancer survivors, two Cubs superstars, if you don't know those names. And it was during training camp, so I knew it was a long shot. And I said, is there any way you can get them on film or just on their cell phone, doing some kind of a greeting? And much to my delight, they both were on film, thanking this organization for what they do for research and what it did for them personally and what it's done for their foundation. And please come to Chicago. I mean, it was incredible. So we added that video at the end of our sales pitch, and the client's jaw dropped.
Oh.
It just dropped. And she looked at me with tears in her eyes, and she said, like, I wasn't going to sign already, but this is the icing on the cake. So when you can pull in empathy
Sure.
and intuition and really do something relevant to that client, it's just a feel good all the way around.
And authenticity, I mean, let's face it, that is Chicago. I think if we're not real, what are we here for? I mean, this is all very real. And in that same breath, Philippe, Les Clefs, as I recall, is the motto in service through friendship, but also you have to project and act upon requests in 3 ways. Make it legal and moral and now kind. How in this wild year we've had do you maintain all of those 3, moral, legal, and kind, when there is so much swirling about? And how does that guide the experience that you deliver?
When I think of kindness, I think of compassion. Compassion is important because it means that you're stepping outside of your personal shield. And really, to be effective in service, you have to do it devoid of yourself. I believe it's Holly Steele, great service champion through the Concierge world years ago, used to say that you're basically building a party for a guest that you're not invited to.
That's great.
It's a funny way to put it, but when I think of today's climate, which has so many different issues swirling, first off, most of the guests that we're starting to see, and most hotels will see as reopening continues, are travelers stuck in last year's trip. That ripple hasn't gotten as wide as it's going to be yet, so most of those guests, with the small smattering of guests that are coming in up to the moment, most guests are traveling based on what they wanted to do last year. They couldn't do it, whether it was a wedding, a birthday. They're coming in trying to do that, and they're trying to be normal based on what doesn't exist anymore. So you're sort of navigating a bunch of different minefields, and you're trying to do it in a way that shows that you care, and you have to.
Sure.
And you're also trying to do it in a way that doesn't make the guests feel what they already know, which is that for the last year, they've been limited. So when guests come to your property, they don't want to hear limitation anymore because they've been up to here with it. So being aware of that from the concierge perspective and having a compassion to work around any perceived difficulty before it gets that way, it really puts you in a good position to succeed. Sure. One minor point, if you don't mind. Some of this includes being in touch with guests that weren't able to make it last year. And I think of one family in particular. I was working on her birthday party for her daughter, who was 15. This was last March. They couldn't make it. I kept in touch with that guest, and I had on my calendar, my email calendar, to blink every 2 to 3 months, and I would send a hello. That guest actually stayed in touch. She came this year, celebrated the birthday, and she came back within 3 weeks because she has more than one child, and it was his 16th.
Because she has.
And it was his 16th birthday. So, you know, the point being is having compassion for guests that are making their trips, but also being wise enough to understand that guests that couldn't make it, it's not because they didn't want to. So if you have the capacity to keep a lifeline out there and show them that they're a human being and not just a revenue stream, they're going to return. And
Excellent.
they'll probably bring their friends too.
They're going to return, and we pay a lot for marketing dollars. Isn't that what we're
Yes.
trying to do? And encapsulate the memory, deposit it, get them to write about it, advocate it, blog about it, and then return, and then do the whole thing. I love your system. Not a surprise that you would manage it that way, Philippe. Randy, I've known you a long time, 2.5 decades, and I think of you as like Mr. Super Cool, because you just are, but you just are.
Thank you.
Are you always like this? I've seen you in a lot of different leadership moments, board meetings, etc. But how, when the pandemonium is out there and the city is, on its ear, and on our best day, there's still challenging moments. How do you, from the rigors of accommodating all the types of requests from vendors and tenants, and it's a big building. It's a very big building. So how do you wear so many hats and at the same time be you, Randy Stancik?
Well, thank you. Very, very flattering. Appreciate that, Steph. We're marathon runners at the end of the day, and I say we. It's a team. It's a whole team of folks over at the property. We're open, just like everybody in the tourism world. We're pretty much open all the time, and you can't really fall behind. Again, how do we get to the yes before the no? Just always trying to get to that. How do we accommodate and make memories, but know that there's going to be another one right behind it. It's going to be right there, and it's
Sure.
It's just a matter of. There's a beauty to that because the tempo is just constant, and certainly it's game time all the time for us. We have to keep moving, but I think just remembering that people are going back. When I came to work at Willis Tower, I had 2 family members come up to me and say, "Don't mess it up." I had a 10-year history, as you know, at Hancock. Nobody ever said anything about that. There was such an emotional bond where I grew up with the tower that it was important to folks. And just knowing that we're representing more than just me coming to work or our team coming to work, that takeaway is going back to somebody who might not be back in the city ever again. It might be at a country we barely know. It could be 2 zip codes over. But the mentality with that is just keep the poise, keep things moving, keep things positive. And honestly, it's pretty invigorating, just the level of, we all get a nice rush out of seeing that reaction. And a lot of times, you're right, it's a party we're not invited to, and maybe we don't get the full reaction sometimes to what it is. But selflessly, we moved to the next one knowing we did everything we could to make it memorable.
It's like in Wicked, defying gravity. Every day is that opportunity, and Shakespeare, all the world's a stage. And if once we understand that in the customer experience, it's the customer that is our ally. People love to share when they come to Chicago. I think we wear our experiences as an accessory. And I love accessories. I want to be that person when I visit Chicago and take as many staycations, being already here. In my own experiences, how would it be if I was a guest right now? How would I experience what others do and go to Offbeat, the spectacular lineup of new and exciting opportunities? And to that point, Randy, there's a few pop-up opportunities coming down the line, destinations, visitor experiences. What's your strategy through the customer experience lens about not competitively? You already have the high rankings, let's face it. But what's your strategy for getting your team ready for the other organizations that have pop-up attractions in the area?
We focus so much on what we have at our place. Once we deliver that, we know we only have people for an hour or 2. They're here for an average of 4.5 nights. I'm not sure if that's still the ratio with COVID, but we know that they have a lot of time in their day. We try to get people up to visit us early because we're not only with the new experience talking about us, we really more focus on the city and what else is to do and how to get there. And the common questions, again, that we've had for decades coming through, we try to address up front to be more than just coming to see us. It's more about being the city's cheerleader and really doing our best for that. So the more things that could help bring people to the city, I welcome. I think it's great. I think I've been to many cities, and honestly, I'm not going to name them here, but I'm bored after a day or 2. You can come to Chicago and spend weeks. So I think the more that comes in and the more dynamic they can be promotionally, the better it is for everybody.
I think so, and you're really on top of it that way. And I think it's very invigorating to have new attractions.
Absolutely.
You know, when people go to medical school, they're not looking at the person next to them and saying, there's too many doctors here, right? I mean, we want exciting and beautiful hotels to mirror. We want to all move the experience forward, and it's really a tremendous time to be in Chicago. To motivate and keep up with the current experience and the communication so that the service provider, I would say the frontline person, the F to F, face-to-face person, how are each of you, again, I'll go back to motivation and inspiration. You have your own scruples. You have the vision and from the mountaintop and can say, wow, I know how I would do it. But at the core of it all, you still get an hourly waged employee who might take a bus or two to get there. They're not living in the same vocab that we are, even though you're crossed and toe dipping into other pastry chef moments, Philippe. But at the end of it, you still get to do what you do in your very illustrious and fancy jobs. How does that across to get that same consistent? There it is. There's the nut I want to ask you. How do you get it so that it is consistent, so that it's not scripted, you know, but that it's organic and of the moment? I'll start with Rose. How do you get your team, and I mean team Choose Chicago, with your legendary leadership? How do you get the consistent message out all the time?
It's a good question. Positivity is very important because there's so much negativity in the world, just negativity in the news, negativity in the amount of business that we've lost over the past year.
Sure.
There's plenty of opportunities to be down. We need to be encouraging, be positive when we're talking to our team, let them know that things will come back, remind everybody what we're doing to help bring business back, and that we'll still be there. You know, God willing, we'll all still be there to help when our clients get back.
Absolutely. So positivity, the city motto is I will. Mm-hmm. And if we just remind ourselves of the roots, the anniversary of the Chicago fire, I mean, we were just flat one day, and look at the buildings and the structure and the elegance and the everyday hot dog moments. I mean, it really is, well, we're already sold on the city.
We'll see what it'll be 150 years next year from the Chicago fire.
Absolutely.
So see what we've, as a city, have accomplished together. It's amazing.
You just have to walk out the door and envision and migrate to that. And speaking of challenging moments, so service recovery, let's talk about it. Because it's always fun to talk about the glory moments, but Philippe, you rolled your eyes, so I'm going to ask you, what's the turnaround plan? Like back at the hotels, you have something that's called LEAP, which is, listen, empathize, action, plan. What is, if you can divulge a secret moment, a secret sauce, service recovery, just in about 30 seconds or less, what's that opportunity to address a challenge? How do you hit it head on?
The pandemic indirectly handed us a favor in the sense that it looms so large over the world, over travel, it's almost impossible that a guest will come into the city and not have something not happen that they expected to happen. So from that narrative, it's a little more direct and easy for us as a team to understand that, hey, there's a chance that this might happen. And a lot of it, you can thwart it by being knowledgeable about what mitigations are currently in place in the city, and by being aware directly with contact with your vendors what's possible.
Excellent.
And so
Perfect.
That way you can ward a lot off.
So pre-planning is probably a good idea.
That's it in a nutshell. And then in terms of dealing with the team, it's also helping that person that's on the team that perhaps isn't a concierge understand that this is okay, this is going to happen.
Absolutely.
It's not personal. When you have an experience like this, this is temporary, and this is how you can work through it, and I'm here for you. you're in it together.
And so when you
those
call
things-
Randy, who I'll ask next,
Right.
that rollover factor, it is bonding. Having a cell phone number, getting people in, making that extra effort. Randy, what's the service recovery? How do you greet a challenge and turn it and flip it quickly?
It's empowering our team to try to make the right decision.
Okay.
Know that they're supported if they run into stuff, because not everybody is going to be able to address it at certain levels. So as you work up, and just make sure at the end of the day, make sure they're walking away satisfied. And it's hard. It's hard to get everybody. We can't sit here and say that we get everybody. But we have mechanisms in place to make them the hero. We know most people when they have particular challenges, we can take care of most of them. We're all going to get the customer that you just might always have a challenge and just keep driving it home. And it also gives us an opportunity to train on that, though. And it gives us an opportunity to move to the next level and see what we can do and find it. But I think
Sure.
at the end of the day, we're empowering our folks. We spend a lot of time training the last 2 years now on heart math training, which focuses not so much on the customer service skill and ability, but understanding the positive vibes that a person can give off, reading nonverbals, understanding somebody with energy versus someone who's just not feeling it, and then just understanding themselves. And that type of individual training has gone a long way with our team members
Sure.
because they know that we're not just interested in training them for skill, for the job. This is something they're going to take with them everywhere. And so when we look at the challenge, this could be something they could be on the other side of. And hopefully they do have the compassion when it's that time to get there. And if they don't, how do they work through? So again, just some great life skills that we try to put to everybody all the way through the organization.
It sounds like each of us leads with empowering the person, the holistic nature of where people are, meeting them where they are, creating authentic, empathetic, and intuitive experiences, making the most of what we already have, the technology, and learning from what we've all just been through, because without that lesson, it would have been for naught. And the opportunity to bring together Chicago and all in the I Will spirit. So my hat is on and off to all three of you. You're my friends, my champions in service, and I can't wait to see where we all go next.
Okay, not so fast. I wanted to thank you guys. Thanks to Stephanie and this fantastic panel. How about a big virtual round of applause at home? What a great group. And for you guys, we'd love for you to leave with some fabulous Garrett Popcorn. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, and I might ask you to open one before we leave, so it's early yet. So if you're watching this on June 3rd and you have any more questions, our panelists will be around till noon to answer them. If you are watching this after June 3rd on Expo, you can see the questions and answers that were posted today in the feed on this page, but you will not be able to ask more questions. So before I let you get back to the Q&A at home, please join us at noon today for our final educational session of the 2021 Summit, 15 tourism industry trends to help you plan for success. It'll be brought to you by Aaron Francis Cummings from Destination Analyst. Finally, I look forward to seeing you next week on June 8th at Navy Pier's Aon Grand Ballroom. Thank you.